Hi guys, this is Christina again. Thank you so much for the overwhelming support on the last video. I didn't know it would blow up so much. I really appreciate all your kind words. So some people have been asking for application tips and stats, and though I'm not very comfortable sharing my stats right now, I'd be happy to give some application tips. Of course, I have to give a disclaimer first. I'm not a college counselor or an adult or any professional, so don't take my words too seriously. This is just coming from someone who just went through the process. So the biggest tip I can give is to do your research. You guys have probably heard this from your college counselors and teachers and everything, but it's very important. And it's not just looking at rankings and stuff, though that might be the first thing you look at. There's so many things that go into researching colleges. For example, one of the biggest things for me was researching colleges that were good for my major, which I'm intended to do biology. So really looking at schools that offer the best programs for your intended major and what you want to study is very important. In addition, what I like to do is to watch day-in-the-life videos and also reach out to current students who were in the colleges that I was interested in. This really helps you feel the vibe of the campus and also just learn about the things that students may not like as much about the school they're going to, which is also definitely a big consideration that you have to take into when choosing a college. I think a lot of times we can look for prestige and for name, but what we forget is there's so many other factors. For example, what kind of campus culture do you like? How about the undergrad focus? What are the specific programs they have for your major? Things like weather, distance, everything should be taken into consideration. So research is a very, very important aspect of the application process. I can make an entirely new video about how to create a good college list, but basically, essentially, what you should know is that you should be happy to go to any of your colleges on your list, including your safeties. So tip number 2 is to show demonstrated interest. I know a lot of colleges say that they don't really care about demonstrated interest and such, but I think it really helps you more than harms you. A big part of showing demonstrated interest is also visiting campuses. So if you are financially able to do so, I think that it would be a very good decision to tour some of the schools that you are interested in. Of course, you don't have to tour every school, but I think that choosing a few schools that are different, for example, public schools, private schools, liberal arts colleges, to feel out the vibe and the type of campus environment that you like is a very important factor. As an international student, I think it was important for me to also take into consideration the travel time and the convenience of the locations of my colleges. For example, places like Boston or California were much easier to go to than upstate New York, which is something I have to take into consideration when traveling back and forth to my family. Another part of showing demonstrated interest is to make a connection with the school. For example, there were quite a few colleges that visited my school. A lot of the times, the admission officers that come to your campus are the ones who are actually reading your application because they're in charge of your region. So it's very important to establish a connection with them. For example, ask them for a name card, email them, talk to them about specific programs, ask good questions. I think this is all a good way to show your interest in your school. For me, it was very helpful to start drafting some ideas over the summer. A lot of the Common App questions are repeated every year, and the Common App questions are quite generic, so you can basically write about anything, any of your life experiences. So just creating a document and jotting down ideas of your life experiences or things that interest you will really help you out when you start writing your essays. A helpful tip for me when I was writing my essays was that I would give myself, for example, 20 minutes of time, and I would force myself to write continuously for that 20 minutes and completely flush out an idea. So a lot of those times, those drafts would not make it and none of them were good. But once in maybe 20 drafts, I would find an idea that I really enjoyed and I would draft that out fully. So basically what I want to say is that these essays do take time and they are hard to write. But if you give yourself enough time, I think you'll take off some of that pressure, especially towards the end. I can make an entirely separate video about writing college essays, but essentially what you want your college essays to do is to portray your true self. For me, it was listing down 5 important qualities that I wanted to show colleges about myself. And throughout my application, I tried to portray different parts of those qualities in each of my essays. A huge part of the college application process that I think is often overlooked is the organization needed for it. So staying organized and on top of all your deadlines is actually a very important thing, and something that I think I struggled with and a lot of people struggled with. So a way that I coped with that is that I created a college deadlines document. So it's very simple Google spreadsheet, which I put all my colleges, all the deadlines, interview deadlines, all those things, and I would highlight them different colors to remind me of when I had to get things done. So I'll link an empty spreadsheet into the description box below, and feel free to use it if you want. Of course, you have to know your college deadline, but there are so many other deadlines that you should look out for. For example, some things that I had to take note of were when to send my SAT and ACT scores, because normally those take around 3 weeks to be sent to colleges, so you have to do those in advance. Another thing is that a lot of colleges have earlier deadlines for interviews. For example, a lot of my colleges had a deadline of December 15th to get an interview, and I think that those were really important for me to get into the colleges that I wanted to. So I think that being wary of those deadlines is very important. Another big deadline are scholarship deadlines. So for the BU scholarship deadline, it was December 1st. But a lot of other schools have scholarship deadlines that aren't as explicitly stated. So you should do your research and look at what additional essays they might have and when you have to submit your application by to be considered for the scholarship. Once you've submitted all your application information and all your essays, be sure to check your portal to see if it's submitted. A lot of times you can submit, but it might not get to colleges on time. So make sure to check that every few days until you are sure that your college has all the application materials that you need. I think another thing is to constantly communicate with your college counselor and also your teachers, especially the teachers who are writing your rec. They would love to be kept in the loop, and also they're just really helpful adults who will give you advice. I think it's very important to not beat yourself up. I think that college applications can sometimes be seen as a competition, but I think it's more supposed to be a celebration of everything you've achieved in the past 4 years or beyond, and everything that you've done to get to where you are now. Of course, we'll all think about things that we could have done differently. We could have gotten better grades here, we could have worked harder, but ultimately, your college application is to try to package yourself in the best way possible to present to colleges and to show and highlight your strengths and your experiences that you've had over these 4 years. Of course, be supportive of everyone around you. I think that a lot of times the college application process can become a very toxic one, but I think that ultimately we're all in this together. It's important to just support each other, help each other out, help each other proofread essays, help each other decide what kind of college would suit them. Give other people advice and they'll do the same to you. The worst thing is to be surrounded by a toxic and competitive atmosphere that will just add on more stress to an already stressful process. I know that as a second semester junior or going into senior year, college can seem like everything. It seems like college is what determines your entire life plan. But I think that going into your last year, you should definitely just treasure the experiences that you have. Treasure the time you have left with your friends, because you're never gonna have it again. With everything going on with the coronavirus right now, I think a very important lesson that it taught me is that you can never plan out your life. Even if you do get in your top college, in your top major, you never know what's going to happen the next day or the next year. I think that it's important to celebrate what you have done so far and know that everything will turn out all right. So those are just my 5 tips for applying to college, and there's so many other things to consider and so many more resources out there that you can look to for help. But I hope that I've just been able to provide a little bit of help and comfort for people who are applying to college. So that's all for today. Feel free to follow me on my socials or DM me if you have any other questions, or comment below what other videos you'd like to see next. Hope you guys all have a good day. Bye!